Hello, everybody. Good evening. We are here with the Heart of Iron live show for the Book 26 Book Club for September. I know it is a different night than we normally do live shows on, but tonight we're going to be discussing Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys about it. I actually took notes for once, which never happens, so I can help fuel the discussion more. But if you've never done a live show with us before, basically what happens is first we're going to do a synopsis of the book. Then we are going to do our initial thoughts, which is non-spoilers. And then we'll warn you guys first, but then we're going to go into more of a spoiler discussion for the remainder of the live show. So, Kat, would you like to be our designated synopsis person?
Sure. Okay. So Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston was actually something I found out from Desiree. It is a retelling. It is an Anastasia retelling. I did not know this going into this book. But however, this is a sci-fi retelling of Anastasia. So we're following our main character, Anna, and she's kind of like not hanging out, but she's with these group of pirates. They're outlaws, and she has this android in the world. They're called metals, but they're really androids, and you find out very soon that she's in love with her android. She doesn't know what happened to her past. Something happened and she lost her memories. Her android doesn't remember either, but they basically she finds out soon who she is, and it's kind of like an adventure. There's LGBT relationship in this book. There's obviously the relationship between her android and her, and I found this to be very interesting. It's a fun book to read, especially as an Anastasia retelling from a sci-fi perspective. So it was really cool to read about a different sort of retelling for an Anastasia retelling. So yeah. Do we want to go into first thoughts? I can start, I guess, since I'm already talking. So I see, if you guys watch my videos, then you know that I am a huge lover of sci-fi, especially sci-fi books set in space. I usually go through phases every couple of years. When I first started on BookTube, I was really into dystopian, and then I moved into fantasy. So now I'm kind of in my like sci-fi phase. So I was really excited to read this book. By the way, I have the Owl Crate edition, which does have the sprayed edges.
It's so pretty.
Yeah. So I was really hopeful for this book, especially because Ashley Poston, a lot of people love her. She's very, I think she writes mostly contemporaries. So she's a very popular author. So I was very excited to dive into this book. But while I liked it, I didn't necessarily love it. I did end up giving this book 3.5 stars. I thought the relationship between Anna and her android, her metal, was cool. I really liked that. And I also liked the relationship between Jax and Rob, which is the LGBT portion of our book. And I really just liked the friendship also between Anna and the outlaws that she hung out with, and just how much they cared about each other. But otherwise, I don't know if it's because I'm kind of slumping a little right now, but I just didn't love the book. It was entertaining and I read it pretty quickly, but it felt a little flat for me. Like I guess because it's a sci-fi book set in outer space, I was expecting a lot more, and it just felt short of my expectations.
So it's interesting, right? Because I love Ashley Poston and I absolutely love her Once Upon a Con series. And I think reading this, it's interesting because I probably wouldn't have been able to identify it as her writing or what I recognize as her writing. It felt very, very different to me. Not that there was anything wrong with it. I thought the writing was good. It's just, it was such a departure from what I've read from her before. With the exception of, the Once Upon a Con series, to me, seems like it's very, very heavily influenced by Firefly, which is like a space pirates TV show. And I kind of see some of that in this too. Like, I think she just has, a healthy obsession with Firefly. So I thought that was pretty cool. As far as like, I kind of agree with you, Kat. I don't think I necessarily loved it. I mean, it is the first book in a duology, so I'm wondering like what the second book will be like.
Mhm.
But I did enjoy it. I thought it was entertaining. I felt like there was a lot of action. Like I felt like there was just a lot of stuff happening in the book. I don't know how I felt about like all the different perspectives. I'm not usually a fan of lots of different perspectives in books. I feel like sometimes more than two is like really pushing it for me. I don't think she did it poorly. I just don't think I'm a fan of that kind of approach. But outside of that, like I enjoyed it. I thought it was entertaining.
Yeah, I agree. With multiple perspectives, it's an author has to do it well because you really have to get into the head of the character and you really have to make sure that their voices are very different from one another.
I think she did that. I think she was able to do that. Yeah.
Okay, Chloe.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say really quick that, well, it's kind of spoilery. Forget it. I'll say it later.
I keep like thinking it's my turn, like unmuting it, and then I'm like, oh nope, let me mute it again. Well, I kind of did like I broke my thoughts up when I was writing notes. I wrote it up the thoughts before I was reading, thoughts during reading, and thoughts once I'd finished the book. And I think I talked about it like right at the very end of the last live show that we did, where I was like really getting like Lunar Chronicles vibes from this, from the synopsis. But what I think it more relates to is Zenith, with the whole like space pirates type deal. But I really feeling like Lunar Chronicles vibes from synopsis. I was really excited to read it. I like Desiree. I have read all of her Once Upon a Con series, and I love her contemporary work. So this was going to be different for me. And while I was reading it, I'm not familiar with the story of Anastasia. So I need somebody to explain that to me later. But so I read it not knowing that story. And I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. I listened to the audiobook. I think that there were parts that I enjoyed and I was like getting into it, but then it didn't like wow me like this is the greatest book ever, but it wasn't like a bad book either. And I don't know if the audio could have affected that in any way. But it's not the best thing I've ever read by her. I think I enjoy her contemporary work more. That being said, I may still want to read the second book because it is only a duology, and this one did kind of end on a bit of a cliffhanger. So I may end up still wanting to read the second book. I'm not sure, but this one it just didn't overall wow me. Didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but it was good enough. How's that?
Desiree, do you know the story of Anastasia?
So,
if you want to explain it to Chloe.
Well, gosh, I don't even know if I could like fully explain it. I've actually read 2 Anastasia retellings at this point, and I was about to say that I need to go back and actually read the official Anastasia story, but I think it was like in Russia, and there was like a family that was in power, and
she was like the Grand Duchess. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And her family was basically assassinated, but they could never find Anastasia's body. So there's like, theories that she escaped and is still alive somewhere and will eventually come back to claim, her family's throne or whatever. So that is my basic, very, very, very basic understanding of it.
Yeah, so her father was the Russian Tsar, and she was the Grand Duchess. She was one of the children of the Russian Tsar. And what happened, I don't remember because it's been a long time since I've even watched like the Disney version of Anastasia. But her father was they were unhappy with her father's rule, so they were assassinated, I guess. And someone else took over. And again, like Desiree said, she was the only one whose body was never found. In the Disney version, the grandmother survived, and they were always searching for her. And in the Disney version, obviously she gets found, and that's kind of like what this book goes into. The grandmother is the only one who lived, and they find Anastasia, basically.
Didn't you read Romanov not that long ago?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was so different because in Romanov, they weren't assassinated. They were they were arrested and put on house arrest, basically, for a majority of the book.
So, like I was saying to you earlier, as far as like the vibes that I got from the book, I definitely got Lunar Chronicle vibes, kind of with the plague and with the evil queen and stuff that was happening. And then also it felt very similar to Lifelike. I still have to go back and reread Lifelike because
I was thinking that too.
So, because that's also an Anastasia retelling, and I thought, like,
is it?
Yeah.
Is it really? Why do I not know this?
I told you this the other night.
Did you?
But
I don't know.
I looked it up today because I was like, what are the chances that they both wrote Anastasia retellings with like androids? And so I looked up when they were published, and like Ashley Poston's book was published February 2018, and then Lifelike was published March 2018. And they published them like a month apart. So I thought that was just kind of crazy that they both had an android-inspired Anastasia retelling the same year. I don't know.
And I've never read Lifelike, so I can't say anything to this. Do we want to move into spoilers before we accidentally?
Well, yeah.
Sure.
I think we already like breaking that line.
I don't know about you guys. I don't know if maybe it's like a personal preference or something, but right at the beginning, it starts. You just jump right into the action with this book, and it didn't hook me. Like I feel like it should have, and it didn't. I don't know if that's a personal preference or something. I can't think of another book that's similar in that way, where it starts like that quickly. I don't know if that makes sense.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, I had to read the beginning like 3 times. Because it wasn't clicking. I was like, what is happening? And so I had to keep going back. Like, I think I listened to the audio twice, and then I read it with my eyes once. Because I was like, I don't know, who are the characters? There's a lot of people in here. I don't know what's happening.
I want to say I started this during our last Pages and Pals live. Like, I'm pretty sure that's when I started it. And I had to reread like the first 3 pages a couple of times before I like actually understood what was going on. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, sorry, I'm distracted. Can you mute yourself? Sorry, I keep getting echoed. No, I was gonna say the same thing. I thought maybe it was because I'm slumping that I couldn't really get into the story in the beginning. And so I didn't necessarily do what you did, Desiree, where I went back and reread it. But I know that because I was listening to the audiobook and trying to read the physical book at the same time, although I was distracted at the same time. But there were times where I kept rewinding the audiobook because I was like, wait, I don't know what happened in the last 5 minutes, so I have to go back. But I do agree, even though like this book is very fast paced and really action packed, I don't feel like it really like is one of those action packed books that kind of hooks you from the very beginning. It's just a lot happening, and I feel sometimes it's kind of like overwhelming because there's so much happening. And you're like, wait, give me a second to breathe and let me understand what's going on before you dive into the next fight. You know what I mean? So
I don't know about you guys, but I made the prediction very early on that Anna was the goddess. Like as soon as they were like, oh, the goddess is coming, that's next week, I'm like, you're the fucking goddess, like you. And
I mean, they named her Anna. It's an Anastasia retelling. I don't think
know that. Okay. You knew that. You told me. I was like, wait, okay, that makes sense now. A lot of this book makes sense. But yeah, I agree, Chloe. Once they started talking about the fact that she doesn't remember her past, they don't know where she came from, and then there's a goddess that's supposedly supposed to come back through a family, like the daughter that went missing, whatever. Was like the first daughter to be born in 1,000 years in the family or something like that, and can wear the crown or something. And I was like, oh, that's her. She's it. Like, you can't, like, you're foreshadowing it really heavy on me. So yeah, I picked up on it really, really quickly too.
And
it was
like
really obvious.
And then like I don't know if it has to do with like how there was like you're just thrown into all the action right at the beginning. I feel like the true story didn't really start until about a third of the way through this book, and which was when like everybody was captured, or no, not even when everybody was captured, but when they go to the coordinates, to that one like abandoned ship. I feel like that's when the story really started.
Yeah, I agree.
And then like even like looking back on it now, I feel like that part was so like minuscule compared to the rest of the story, which is like after they were arrested and everything. I feel like that's like the main story was all of that.
Yeah, I agree with that. The beginning didn't really it was kind of like setting up the story, the real story, like with them saying that, that she doesn't remember her past, that she was found with the medal, died, and that they're trying to find these coordinates for the second son of that lady, Rob, so he can find out what happened to his dad. And I'm just like, I was like, I don't get this book. And then we get to the ship or whatever, and then I was like, oh, okay, the story's starting to make sense. It's starting to like piece together itself. But yeah, I agree with you. The story really, really starts at that moment.
And I don't know about you guys, but I think it also has to do with the fact that there's multiple perspectives in this book. I was getting all the people who, like, all the characters who were on the dossier, the ship. I was getting them all mixed up. Like, I kept forgetting about characters just because I felt like there were so many. And does that make sense? Like, and we kept all of a sudden it'd be like, oh, here's so and so. It's like, oh, I forgot about you and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. Like in the beginning, there were so many people in the dossier, and I was like, I kept getting Jax confused with the captain of the ship. I was like, wait, is he the captain? Because they keep calling her she, and I was like, I thought Jax was a guy. So I was just like, I was confused. I was so confusing because I was like, oh, okay, she's a different person. I got it. And then they kept calling also, what did they kept calling Jax? Solani?
Yes, Solani like that, yeah.
Solani, and I was like, and then Ironblood, and I was like, who the hell are these people? Like, can you just use one name? Like, stop. You're confusing me.
Yeah, this was definitely a very, very character heavy.
Yeah,
book.
I agree.
I didn't know this prior to reading. I don't know if it's just not like in the synopsis or maybe not very well known. I didn't realize that there was both a male-male relationship and a female-female relationship in this book. And I don't know if that's very well known because I had no idea before going to it.
There's a female-female relationship?
I didn't get the female-female.
Who's the female-female?
The captain has a wife.
Well, she's like, sorry, I just saw we got a comment on the live show. She's not like like for me, she wasn't a prominent character. Like she was a supporting character. She was there, and I was like, okay, you're in the scene, but she wasn't a character that I really paid attention to. I was mostly like focusing on Jax and Rob and Di, and obviously Anna, and then everyone else was just like, okay, you're there. I don't know what your purpose is anymore, but you're there. So I didn't notice that. So thank you for telling us.
What I was going to say before that I said was kind of spoilerish was in regards to all the multiple perspectives. You know, we're given like a certain amount. I don't know, like how many there was. Jax, Anna, D9, Rob. Was that?
I think that's it.
And then at some point they threw in the Hive, but even D09 had like 2 personalities. So there was like multiple chapters. At some point it was no longer D09, it was Die. So so there was definitely
I never noticed that. That's actually a good point. He starts off as D09 and he becomes eventually Die. Because I feel like as the book progresses, he kind of gets in touch with his human side, whatever, even though in the end they end up being human. I don't know. But yeah. So that's a good point. I never noticed that the chapters change his name with him when it's his perspective.
I kind of wanted to touch on that. For one, I thought it was really creepy that all the metals used to be humans. That freaked me out a little bit.
I don't know how that works.
I don't really get it either.
So did you understand? I didn't understand. So what happened? The victims died and then they like somehow put their consciousness in a metal body. Is that how it was? That what happened?
Well, that's what they did.
I understand it. I feel like we may get more into that if we read the second book. We might get more of understanding of how that works.
I was really confused. Like when we got to that scene, I was like, wait a second, like that doesn't make it, like, how does that work? Like, are we dealing, like, technology is really advanced, but is it that to the point where we take something that's intangible, like a human soul, a human consciousness, and somehow transfers to a metal body? Like, I don't know, maybe it's just, I mean, I think the author just wants us to accept that happened, but I'm just like, I want to know, like,
how that works.
Yeah, I want to know, like, give me the details, like, break down in scientific terms, like, how did you?
Yeah, and this kind of goes with like how metals used to be humans. I guess the kind of like relationship, and I use that term loosely, between metal and human, in this case would be Anna and Die, when he's right at the beginning, when he's more metal than he is human, the relationship didn't feel very like organic to me. It felt more one-sided just because he's a robot and he's not supposed to have these feelings in that case. But then the more human he became, and once I realized like he used to be a human, the love made more sense. But I feel like in the beginning it didn't feel very like organic. Does that make sense?
I agree. Like, I think that's okay, so in another book that I really love that kind of deals with an android metal, whatever, kind of falling in love is the Defy the Stars by Claudia Gray. I feel like I was so excited for this book. When I started reading, I was like, oh, there's a metal human relationship in this. So I was like really excited about it. I thought I was going to get another book like Defy the Stars, which I thought did a great job kind of like developing his humanity. Like it just did such a great job, where in the beginning he's very much a mech in what they call in that world. He was very much android, and then in the end he kind of like starts seeing that maybe he was created differently, or maybe he glitched, or maybe that he developed differently. And there's always talks in the world about how robots and technology is advancing so much that people are afraid that technology is going to gain its own consciousness. It's a lot like a lot of movies are based off of that. So I wish that there was more of a progression into how Die became from the beginning to who he was in the end. I feel like I didn't get that natural progression of him realizing, okay, I'm not just a normal metal. I have thoughts and I have feelings. And he, at one point in the book, this is when he started calling himself Die, when the chapter started being named Die, and that he starts to realize that what the things that he's been feeling are glitches anymore. So I do wish that there was more of a natural development to his humanity.
The machines are going to take over when we take out. Yeah, and once we found out that he used to be human, I think this part in the book and it might have been because I was listening to the audiobook, or that's just how my brain decided to comprehend it, is he used to be human, and as a human, he was the son of the person who created the hive. But why did they make the hive?
So that's like a part that I'm kind of confused about.
Wait, ask your question again.
So Die used to be human. As a human, he was the son of the person who created Hive.
Right.
Why did they create Hive?
Why did they create Hive? Like, so I don't know what the entire overall plot was like with everything together, but Dai's dad had used the machines to kill Anna's family, and I thought the hive was created because he wanted to create an army.
Okay. So actually it's on, like, I can't tell you what chapter it's on because there's no chapter numbers.
Right.
But it's the moment where she gets in the tower and she talks to her weird ass brothers who are like whatever. They're like the hive now, whatever. I don't understand. I didn't really understand the whole scene with them. But from what I gathered is that there's this darkness coming, and Dai's father tried to warn Anna's father that the darkness is coming, and they didn't believe him, and he kept telling the emperor, the king, whatever, tried to told Dai's father, was like, you need to get over this, it's not happening. So that's why he killed the royal family, because he wanted to take over, and he created the hive to create an army that's gonna fight against the darkness. That's what I understood why the hive was created.
I feel like the best way to explain it with the whole brothers thing happening is the hive is its own being. So it's like Illuminae.
I don't get this book. Like, I didn't really understand everything about this book, but yeah, that makes sense.
Hive is basically like what is it? It's Aiden in Illuminae, right? Hive is like Illuminae, that thing, and basically has developed its own conscious. I don't know. It's basically its own.
But isn't it like the control center for like all the machines? Yeah.
So it's like Illuminae. And then I had, because I wrote these thoughts while I was reading the book or while I was listening, so I have a lot of sporadic notes of also, why are they making Anna become empress within a week of discovering who she is? I kept getting the Rob's mom and the grandma mixed up, but I guess it doesn't matter now because they're both dead.
Wait, who is the grandma?
Anna's grandma. I don't know what Grand Duchess. That's it. Grand Duchess. But it doesn't matter because they're both dead now. So the I guess climactic ending, as you would put it, was confusing to me. And again, I have a lot of sporadic thoughts about it while I was reading it. So Dai is now hived, so he's evil, I guess.
Right.
There's and my exact words are, but a lot is happening. Am I confused because I'm listening to the audiobook? Super really random thing that happened. Anna's handmaiden ended up being hived. So she was always a metal. But my other question is, was she always hived?
I don't know. Chloe, you're thinking too much into this, and I'm just like, I don't get this book, so I'm moving on.
I literally was writing these as I was listening. I was like, she's metal. Was she hived? Was she always hived? What's happening? That I have Di stabbed Anna. Is he going to be fixed by the end of the book? Probably not. That is what I have. Probably not. Then the Grand Duchess dead? Question mark. I guess I missed that.
Wait,
okay.
didn't Di kill them all?
I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. When he switched over and the hive was controlling him, like I was like, oh, just because like he was doing some crazy stuff and just killing people and dropping things and just people's hearts were exploding and it was just like it was very graphic. And I was just like, wow. And he did not care. You know, obviously at that point he's like a robot did not care.
Right at the very end, I have how is Di the new emperor? First of all, I thought he was dead. Does he have a new memory core? What is this dude's name? I have no idea what is happening.
Yeah, just too much happened in the end, and it's like, okay.
And then I guess people thought Anna was dead. I didn't know that. I guess she's back on the dossier. That's why people thought she was dead. It's not.
I feel like this is an example of us having to read the second book in order to get the questions from the first book answered.
Then my final thoughts were Hive now has control of the kingdom. That's what's happening. Anna has now figured out who she is without Di. And then my final note for while I was reading it was what just happened.
Wait, so okay. Like AJ walked in and started asking me questions while this part was happening, and it wasn't until I went, oh, he just stabbed her. And then AJ was like, spoilers, and then he just left. So is the book title bait, like was she given a new heart? Like a mechanical heart? Is that how she survived? Did I make that up?
I'm thinking it's because they're Iron Bloods. Like, it was just a play on words. That's my guess. I don't know. Also, this looks like a teardrop. Like, is this the heart?
I feel like it looks like an artichoke heart.
Maybe this is the heart of the Iron Bloods. This is the Iron Bloods' home.
Okay.
Unless this is supposed to be the dossier. I don't know really what this is.
John was upset that they named the ship Dossier.
Did John read the whole thing with you? Like, too?
No, but he was like, you know, a dossier means something completely different. And he was just upset that was the name for it. He read parts of it. He agreed that it sounded like lifelike.
Do we have any other thoughts to what the hell happened at the end of this book?
I mean, it's just, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know what to say because I can't say anything because I don't really, it's like kind of like how you ended your notes, like, what the heck just happened, Chloe? And I'm just like, I just need to read the second book in order to get answers for the first, for the ending of the first book.
Well,
I think this is the second book at this point.
So what I was going to say was, you know, I think, what was the guy's name? Dimitri's dad. It started with an R. I forget what it was. But he was the one that was kind of controlling the hive and the metals and whatever. And so I think his goal the whole time was to kind of take over, and he used Di to do that. And you know, Di was able to take the crown away from Eric because I think Eric touching it made it rust, didn't it? But when Di touched it, it didn't rust.
Ew. Wait, hold on a second. Let's back up right there. That's a good question. Wait, because that would mean that they're like related, and that's gross, right? Because only the her family can wear the crown. That's why she was able to put the crown on her head.
Who are we talking about again? I'm really confused.
We're talking about dye. I thought that maybe it didn't rust when he touched it because he wasn't actually, even though he was in a human-ish body, he wasn't actually real. Yeah.
I don't get it, y'all. Like, you blew my mind right now. That's right.
Because that's the only reason he was able to take the crown. Because he came in and he was like, "Let me touch the crown," and they were like, blah 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 blah. Eric's supposed to get it, and he was like, "I don't care, just let me touch the crown."
Okay, let me touch it.
Because I was thinking, like, wait a second, only her family can touch the crown, and then he touched the crown, and I'm just like, are they like siblings? Because that would be gross.
I don't think like, because I thought he was just
wait. Yeah, okay.
Because she was cousins with Rob.
Ew. So is he like her third cousin removed or something?
I don't know, because I think at one point she was like, "Are you expecting me to take the crown and then marry you?" And he was like, "No, we're cousins." Like,
oh yeah, I forgot about that. Is that John? Is that John? Ask him if he's triggered by peas in my tuna casserole.
I'll have to ask him afterwards. He just came to drop off my icy.
Okay.
Where
are we on this? I don't even know.
I'm just like, obviously she really, really cared about Dai. And that has to be hard. I don't know. I just thought about the Vampire Diaries. It has to be hard when you see somebody that you love turn into something completely different, the opposite of who they are, I just
started the water, so I'm sorry if it looks like I'm crying. I'm not. Oh God. And my mascara is gonna run.
So but at the end she had Dai's memory core, and I didn't understand what that meant.
I'll save his ass in the next book.
I love that you guys question it. I'm just like, I'm still here, blown away by everything, not understanding a single thing.
Here's my problem. My library doesn't have the second book, like a physical copy.
Is it out already?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's been out for like 2 years, I think.
Okay.
But they only have the ebook, and I don't want the ebook. I want to read the actual book. But I'm not fully committed to buying the sequel for this. Like I was like all in. I was like, Ashley Poston, hell yeah, and I bought this.
Oh, you bought it? That's funny. I actually have 2 copies of this book.
How?
What?
You have like double copies of everything.
Yeah, why do you have 2 copies?
Because it's your fault, Kat.
What do you mean?
I pre-ordered the book when it was coming out, and then you were like, "Oh my God, Owl Crate's gonna have Heart of Iron with purple sprayed pages," and so I ordered that too. And then I forgot to cancel my pre-order copy, and I ended up with both of them.
Do a giveaway on your channel.
5 books to give away.
Yeah, how many books do you have?
Like
do a massive giveaway.
Do you guys want to go into final thoughts, or do we have anything else about this weird ass ending?
I mean, I think we could probably do final thoughts.
I still don't know what happened, so I'm just like,
none of us do that. Know what happened.
I have theories. Like,
I think
actually, I don't even have theories.
I would say if we had the time, we should do like a spin-off. Like, it's not an official book club pick, but we should all just read Soul of Stars.
And be like, Desiree, what the heck happened? Explain to me. Okay.
Whoever
Final
wants to start.
thoughts then. It was fun book. Clearly, if you've watched this live show, we clearly don't understand what happened in the end. It was an entertaining book. It's very not necessarily fast paced, but it's very action packed. The beginning kind of just, even though the entire story is very action packed, it's very it doesn't really grip you until you get to the coordinates. You'll get, if you read the first part of the book, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But they're searching for these coordinates in the very beginning of the book, and then like the real story doesn't really start until the coordinates are reached. This is Anastasia retelling. It was interesting to read a sci-fi book based on the Anastasia story. I did give it 3.5 stars. I liked the romances in it. I liked the friendships in it. I liked the overall relationships of the book. It just, for some reason, I just didn't necessarily love the book. I thought it was good. It wasn't, but to me, it wasn't necessarily mind-blowing. It wasn't necessarily great. So I did end up giving it 3.5 stars.
Before we like completely finished, I meant to ask because we didn't really touch upon it, but how did you guys feel when Rob found his dad?
Oh, that was sad.
Yeah, that was like, I feel like that was a memorable, heartbreaking, very heartbreaking moment.
That was sad, just because. No, go ahead.
I feel like it was expected, though. It was like, I don't know. They were going to that ship very early on.
I was expecting his dad to be dead. I wasn't expecting him to find his dad's body. Okay, Chloe. Okay, that's kind of like slap you in the face. Your dad is dead, you know. But yeah, it was just really, really sad because I feel like he had hope that maybe his dad was still alive, and that's why he allowed himself to be taken by these pirates and be taken to the coordinates. And again, like Chloe said, I did expect his dad not to be alive, but I just didn't expect him to find his dad's body. I can imagine like how traumatizing that is. Like finding a random dead body is already traumatizing. Seeing your dad that you had that little bit of hope might be alive, and then seeing the body and it just shatters that little tiny hope that you had is just, I really felt for Rob, and it was just a really cruel and very sad scene.
Even though they like from the beginning they said that like Rob was a liar, which, you know, I feel like is the worst trait in someone. I liked him as a character. I thought he was a really good character, and I think he was a better person than he gave himself credit for. So he was pretty cool. I think I might also be like in the 3.5 area, but that would just round up to 4. So that's probably what I'm going to give it on Goodreads, because Goodreads doesn't have half stars. But I am looking forward to the second book. I feel like, you know, with the challenges that they face trying to regain the kingdom from Die Now, that's going to be difficult, because that's going to be super challenging for Anna, because regardless of what Die's doing, she's always going to see him as like D09 and who she cares about, and that's just going to be like a lot of hard feelings to face and battle and overcome. So yeah. I look forward to checking out the second book.
My final thoughts that I wrote down are very similar to the notes of that I wrote. The lead up to the ending, well, just the whole ending was confusing. I think we established that early on. We all listened to the audiobook, right?
Yes, I did.
You read along while you listen to it, right? Okay, because I thought like maybe all the confusion could have been because I was listening to the audiobook, but Kat's confused too, so it's just confusing.
And I listened to the audiobook and read the book at the same time.
Yeah, so it's just really confusing. And then I said, yeah, Anna's apparently dead to the public, but not really. It threw me off, but I understand it kind of. I'm unsure if I want to read the second book. I probably will, just because it's a duology. It's not like a really long series that I need to dedicate myself to. And I also gave this 3.5 stars. It's not a 4-star book for me. It doesn't really seem like a 4-star book to me, but it's also not just an okay book, because a 3 for me is just okay. It's also not that either, just because there were parts that I was interested in and I enjoyed. So yeah, that's where I'm standing here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I still love Ashley Poston. I still hope she she writes more in the Once Upon a Con series. A sneak peek towards the end of the year, but we are going to be reading another Ashley Poston book this year, which I don't think we've ever done a double author in 1 year.
I don't even know what the book is.
What'd you say?
I don't even know what the book is. I'm looking it up.
Well, that doesn't matter because that's not until later on. But let's go ahead and talk about October, which it already is October. So this month we just there you go. It's The Diviners by Liv Bray. We decided we were going to read something more like spooky Halloween vibes. I know nothing about this book, so if anybody else wants to chime in, that'd be great. Yeah, I have no idea about anything about The Diviners. I just know there's some spookiness to it. It's funny because yesterday I was talking to my coworker, and she goes, "Yeah, I'm reading a YA right now." And I said, "Oh, what are you reading?" She goes, "The Diviners." And I was like, "Oh, you're reading The Diviners right now?"
Diviner.
I love her though. So we're gonna be reading The Diviners by Liv Bray. Our live show is scheduled for Sunday, October 25th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this channel. And I think this is kind of how many pages is that, Kat?
A lot.
Yeah, I'm like, this is going to be a long book.
Hold on. 578 pages.
Oh my god.
So I got to start reading it now.
Yeah, I'm gonna start reading it tonight too.
So yeah, we're gonna be reading The Diviners, and I have heard again from my coworker. She said that this book, it just feels like a lot of setup, but the other books in the series have gotten better reviews. So we'll see how this goes. But that is all for us today. Make sure you guys are following us on Twitter at BookTubeChicks for all of our updates. We're also going to be hosting Pages and Pals. For those of you who don't know, Pages and Pals is a monthly live. It's basically a live read-in. We just all get on here and we read for an hour. That's going to be on October 17th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we have guests. It's once a month. So make sure to tune in for that too. That's hosted on Kat's channel, which is going to be linked in the description below. And again, you can follow us on Twitter to get all of those updates related to Pages of Pals, to the book club, and to anything else we decide to load onto our plate. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you guys next month for the Diviners live show. Bye.